at least you can take your, you can participate, no? You can participate. Let
Yeah,
others
for
start,
sure.
na? Let they say what they have done. Let me listen to them. Okay. Now, whom would I
And
start with?
just add-
Evaristo?
I just want
Yes,
to add
yes, ma'am.
that Dr. Sarbani is giving you some work or something. It's a different way. I mean, it's for learning, but
Yes.
it's not your assignments. I hope you all understand that. Your assignments are uploaded on that LMS,
Hmm.
and the work Dr. Sarbani gave you is for learning purpose. Okay,
Yes.
for better understanding. Okay.
Actually, I
Okay,
need
madam.
to know what you have understood. And unless and until
Yeah.
you draft a plan of your own, you cannot understand whether you have understood properly or not. So it is
Ma,
necessary to read what it is. Very, it is a very easy thing. You know, disaster management is a very easy thing. But when you
yes, ma.
start drafting, you will actually feel how tough the subject is.
That's
So
it, ma.
it is necessary to understand the roles and responsibilities of each member of a community, the various stakeholders, uh, and how they will dissipate that. So, for that reason, I have given you that assignment, and this has to be done. So, whom do I start with, or shall I start the session first and then move to that part? You suggest.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Ma'am, we got it. It is all about to for you to see our level of understanding on how far
Yes,
we go on the topic that we are discussing of. That's why
yes,
you gave us this as exercise. I may call it exercise, right?
yes.
For, for you to understand our level of understanding on what
Exactly.
we had
You know
discussed.
everything because it was a very good interaction with you all, and all of you are very sound in this subject. Uh, you have chosen a very right subject of your choice, and you have good grip on the subject. But
Yes,
understanding disaster and putting it on pen and paper is a
yes,
different thing, you know. So
yes, yes.
it is always better to scale
It
up
is
what you
it is
have done.
simply at it is because it is all it is physically affecting, it is even contemporary issues affecting the whole global countries, I may say. So even not from theoretical aspect, even from practical and physical aspect, almost all of us may might give their own level of understanding.
Hmm.
Good afternoon, Ma. Based on the assignment,
Hmm.
I would like to briefly highlight the assignment given to me.
Hmm.
Okay, my assignment was to ensure communication.
Okay.
So, to ensure communication,
Hmm.
one have to understand the disaster. One have to understand the disaster,
Hmm.
which is our own was flooding. We gave us a scene, a scenario to work on it as an assignment.
Hmm.
So it has to be a kind of emergency communication.
Hmm.
So to ensure this communication, one have to study the scene, the environment, whether it's local or civilized area. If it is a local area, the communication has to be done through radio communication in the absence of mobile network.
Hmm.
It has to be a form of radio communication, and this radio communication has to be given to each and every team, to a team leader of a particular team. Like we may have livestock rescue team, we have first aid team, and then we have human rescue team. So each and everyone has to be given a radio in which he can communicate, and also he can be communicated through.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's
That,
a part of that's according to based on an area where there is no mobile network. Based on
mhm.
area where there is mobile network, this communication can be done through our mobile phones, in which it can be a kind of CUG, a kind of centralized call, in which each and everyone can communicate with each other. Both teams can communicate with each other and pass
But
the
you told,
necessary.
but you just mentioned that there are no mobile towers. Then how will you communicate?
Yeah, I'm picking a side whereby in a place whereby there is mobile network,
Okay.
a more civilized place which has mobile network, the communication
Okay.
can be through mobile phones and CUG. In other
Okay.
aspect where there is no mobile network, radio communication can
Mhm.
be done. Yes.
Mhm.
So that's how to ensure communication briefly.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Anyone
Welcome.
else?
Okay, the barista here.
Yes. Eh?
Yes, my task uh, was rather different from the rest because I was given to coordinate all the group. So basically, I was coordinating the entire plan, which involves all the other small plans, like the one for communication, the one for livestock, the one for water. Now ensuring that all these plans are together and work well for the community. So I take a community and we're supposed to develop a disaster preparedness plan for a community. I'll take an example of a community flooded.
Okay.
So in this case, I need to ensure that I have disaster teams in each sector
Mhm.
that we'll look at. For example, in communication, I need to have a team that will ensure that teams communicate with each other. I need to ensure that we are prepared water-wise. We are prepared in terms of food. We have teams that will look at food. So ensuring that each team is ready.
Mhm.
And I was thinking that at some point, even before the disaster strikes, we can do simulations to see how the
Mhm.
plan fits with the emergency to come, so that when we simulate, we see where we stand, whether what we have planned can work, and where can we improve. Uh, we need to ensure that we have the relevant budget that fits the purpose in case we have a disaster befalling. So a number of items I put down were that the plan must have buy-in from the entire community. So there should be who will give directions. So the directions should be top down, and
Yes.
ensuring that there's participation and buy-in for every member, even members of the community, even the elements at risk, the population at risk itself. There should be a
Mhm.
clear policy statement. So it should also have an activation authority who activate the plan, especially when the disaster strikes. So ensuring that all task organizations, those I was mentioning, are ready. And we also need to ensure that the disaster recovery teams are trained, very sufficiently trained to undertake their activities. Then we need the community map. We need to set out which ones are safe havens, which ones are the routes leading to safe havens, the access routes. Are they accessible? Will they be blocked? So we need to ensure that beforehand. And then we need to have a team that continuously monitors the hazard. And of course, that is the early warning team also should be very up and clear, ensuring that data flows about the hazard forecasting of the flood should be top of the game. Communication, ensuring that the community has all the information at the right time, so that should we trigger, say, if we are to relocate people, we trigger that at the right time. We need to give the media the right information, the right data to disseminate to the community at risk. And we need also to give updates, backups about hot and cold sites and locations. So these are some of the things I prepared for since I'm coordinating. So meaning all the teams must be ready, and we need to do some simulation to find how ready we are.
Good,
Thank you.
great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was really great. Thank you.
Exactly. Baristo made a good uh, plans for his
Yes,
own.
yes, very
Ma
crisp, apt.
Tombe
Yes,
Tombe is
yes,
raising
Tombe.
his hand. Tombe
Yes,
wanted to.
Tombe. Tombe, say. I've seen you.
Yeah, I actually also wanted to give some few my overview on this disaster plan.
Yes.
My colleague actually spoke on it well, and
Mm,
this disaster plan I actually operates here. We normally used to have what we call a yearly disaster plan.
mm,
And on this plan, what we normally used to do is that we have there are around 8 guidelines when you are preparing disaster plans. These guidelines always guide aspect of where this plan can be actually worked on. One is the technical guidelines, like when you are doing the disaster plan, you should have a technical guidelines, and the location of that area, and categorization of the response, like when a disaster happens, how can such response be? Like if it is a government response, how will it be? If it is an NGO, how will it be? If it is a corporate, how will it be? And there is also what we call disaster risk matrix. Uh, that one also, in fact, majorly I will talk on this. And the fifth one is the disaster categorization and scenario plan, or the response also, the roles and responsibilities of all those that are involved in this response. And the last
yes.
one is now the preparedness action. And when you come to the disaster metrics, I felt it is very important also to talk about this in the metrics. Like for instance, for the case, let me take a case study of South Sudan, how we normally used to do the disaster metrics. Yearly, we normally looked at the types of disasters that normally happens in the country. Like for the case of South Sudan, we have around 4 types of disasters that normally happens here. We have drought, we have flood, we have epidemics, we have mass migration, and we have also cases, this issue of global warming. These are some of the disasters that we yearly do we do map it up. And
Yes,
the other area
Tome,
that
Tome, Tome, 1 second, please.
yes,
I just want to interrupt here. You are very right. But here, actually, I have given one case study to each and everyone. So, out of the disasters which you just talked about right now, you please
yes.
say whatever you feel like taking flood scenario into consideration. That is my single request to you. We all are listening to you. Thank you.
Oh, okay, okay, it's okay. Yeah, for the case of flood,
Yes.
uh, what is here very important when it comes to issues of preparedness action plan. Uh, what we normally do, we have expected timing of the disaster. We normally used to do, like for instance, in Africa, we have 12 months, and in this 12 months, we normally spot out the months that are expected, where this flooding normally happens. Then in that, as the man approaches, as my colleague said, this anticipatory, the early warning indicators, uh, committee sensitization immediately starts before the flood, before that period normally comes closer. And in that aspect, the community will be much aware
Yes.
before the disaster normally before it happens. This is normally exactly what we do, and we do incorporate it as a yearly plan in our interventions.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just brief what I can share with you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyone
welcome.
else? What about the livestock managing carcassal disposal? Shall we discuss now or later?
For
My, I thi- I think that about the livestock, it is for Yahya, I think, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
and
I remember. Uh,
if Yaya is not there, I think I can also share a similar scenario on the issues of livestock, because I'm a livestock. I did actually talked of this previously. I'm actually a vet officer. What I currently do is muchly I worked in livestock intervention. I'm a livestock officer, livestock expert.
yes,
Uh,
Tombe,
what we normally used to do when it comes to issues related to preparedness, when it comes to livestock, is that as I said before, uh, like for the case of our country here, we have drought, we have this issue of global warming, like the location where I am currently right now, this fate. Livestock face numbers of challenges as an issue of disaster. I'm currently in the border of Ethiopia, where issues of fodder, grasses, grazelands, it's really a problem right now. Most of the livestock, the pastoralists, they have moved very far in far location in search of pasture. What we normally
So
used to do, what
grazing.
we normally used to, hello,
I said in
yes,
terms of
Salim want to say
reserve
something?
reserve grazing areas, right?
grazing area. Let me reserve, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Uh, what we normally used to do yearly, we do incorporate component of livestock in disaster preparedness action plan in this way. Uh, we prepare most of this. We do awareness as an action. in the action plan, the component of awareness always it is there. We alert them as the season approaches, as a dry season start to spell off. We do awareness to these people that this from this season to this season you will be expecting this, you will be expecting this. And during the dry season, as issues of fodder, most of the livestock normally dies when they are not taken to near place where there are grasses and the rest of other things. We do this so that
Silver
they will
Tombe.
be able to, yes.
Mr. Tombe,
Everesto,
I
yes,
I was
please.
thinking that these assignments were given to people yesterday. What you're giving looks like expert information. I was thinking that you could have allowed others to make what they
On
researched and what. Then you can come and discuss at the end. Thank you.
Yes, Tom.
okay,
Tom Hall bulky. You have to be in a nutshell as well. Thank you.
uh, okay, okay, it's okay. I think what Evresto said, I concur with him. Since I wasn't there, I think I need to give the floor to the person who was given this assignment. Yeah, Yahya, right? Are you the one?
Yes,
Yes,
Yahaya is there.
Yahya is
Tombe,
Yahya.
Yeah,
actually,
he is
I
now already back. I think he can discuss this. Maybe if I
Yeah,
have any
yes.
inputs, I can give later on.
Exactly. Tombe, actually,
Yeah.
I agree with Evaristo and Salim too. I didn't stop you because you have good experience in this. You shared this. It is always welcome. But definitely, we will encourage each and everyone to participate, give their give their share their thoughts into this, give their suggestions, and if any modifications are required, people of particular field expertise can give their suggestions, inputs into this, and we will learn from each other. Okay. Thank
thank
you
you,
so
Mom.
much, Tobe.
Yeah.
Yahaya,
Thank you, Tom.
uh, Yahaya, what about your livestock management preparedness plan? Say, where have you been?
Yahya, make sure you come along with that cock that was memory yesterday. Okay.
Yahaya, come back,
Yeah, yeah, I
come
think
up
you
with a
can
plan.
carry on. You can carry on. Yeah, yeah.
Yahya, I think he has a network issue. Maybe.
Uh, can I, ma'am?
Yes, George.
Yeah, I think me and Yahaya were given the same livestock. So from my side, the first thing to prepare for that is to have the data to know what can I say, registration, to know what livestock are in that area. That's the first thing I was looking at when I was working on this, so that you know how many, let's say, cows are in this area. What about goats, pigs, big chicken, and the like. And also the second thing is to identify livestock with the owners, because I'm looking at the disaster. When disaster occurs, you have to evacuate the livestock to a safer place, and in many cases they will mix. So the mix sometimes is difficult for one to identify if he or she doesn't know, if you don't have that information on the identification of that uh, particular livestock. And also, I was looking at a place where to keep them. You need to have a better place where feeding is there, and also there's enough water for drinking, and etc. So these are some of the things that I looked into when I was working on this one. Thank you.
George, to my knowledge, I don't know, I might be wrong. I think I have given you the carcassal disposal. Though you
No.
came correctly with livestock management, carcassal disposal, whom did I give that? You
No,
or
you gave me
Yahya?
life. You gave me livestock. Maybe because Yahaya's cock was making noise, so he thought.
Okay.
Mr. George, you are here. All right.
Acha, what about Abu Bakr? And what is your count, Joan? How many you could save? Dead or alive? What is the count? What
You
about Abu
mean
Bakr?
Yes,
Yes,
but
George?
I was given communication to ensure communication.
Okay, yeah. And you
Yeah,
have
I was.
already, you have
Yes.
already detailed. Thank you. Uh, then Vayuval,
Yes. Yeah,
what
mine
was
was the
connectivity?
support that can be provided to the injured during the disaster whenever it occurs.
Pardon? Pardon? What was your topic?
The support that we can provide to the injured.
Okay, injured. Okay, right.
Yeah. And then from my side here, I just try to work out on the support that we can also provide to them. Actually, from the disaster, we have different response that because the disaster always they occur in different level, and then the support can also depend on the occurrences of that disaster. From here, I have 3 bullet points that I can also suggest it to be provided to the victim or injured. One of which is whenever it occurs, then the first thing that I can suggest to do is to evacuate the injured from that specific area, especially the action area, to the safe site. The second one is to provide them with the first aid, like the drug, because they are actually the victims. And I also suggest like we can also provide them food and shelter to the location where we relocate them. And then from there, the governments can also decide to go back to the action area and see how to deal with that disaster. If it is manageable, that they can also control, then they can also support. This is what I have. Thank you.
Hi, Vayuval, how will you segregate people? Whom do you think to give first aid and whom to give much more attention? How will you decide upon this? Yeah, this is an open question to all of you. If you want to answer, you can answer. Anyone?
I'm not actually getting the question that you asked so that I can
You just
respond correctly.
you just said the first point was to evacuate them, to evacuate the injured you talk about. So you will only evacuate the injured. And what about those who are not injured or who are dead? That point has is left alone, all alone. Secondly, you will provide first aid. Whom will you provide first aid and how will you segregate them?
if I can maybe just come in, ma'am. To me, I was looking at since he is focusing on injured people, which are vulnerable in that particular situation. So on the people who are not injured, I think they are they need assistance, but not as much as the injured want. So in this case, I think it's good to evacuate the injured, and I don't know if my thinking is right, but I don't think during the disasters it's good uh, to waste your time working on the dead people because they're already dead. I think so. You need to, rescue those people who are in danger, who need to survive. That's my thinking. I don't know whether it's right. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come to this point. Tombe,
Can
yes,
I?
yes,
Yeah,
why?
yeah, yeah. Let me just respond to that. Just a quick one.
Yes.
Uh, as you are responding to any occurrence of a disaster, the first thing when the team that are going on ground, as they reached, they need to look at the level of that disaster. That is the first thing to do. And then thereafter, you talked of the issues of the gender. Gender comes together with the level of the vulnerability. You assess immediately on ground, then thereafter you can start responding. Those ones that need a quick first aid can be given first aid as evacuation starts. That is how the response is all about. On the issues of the gender and the vulnerability, you looked at those that are most affected. Those that are most affected, you evacuate them immediately. And then thereafter, the rest will come thereafter. If evacuation, if evacuation is imminent, it is required in that particular disaster. That is my response.
Yeah. Thank you,
Why was
George and
yes?
Tommy. Thank you, George and Tommy, for for clear explanation. What I mean here is like because I'm targeting only the injured, the victim of that disaster. Actually, we know that disaster can happen in a different level. If it is often, the first priority that we can do, we can give the first priority to the injured. Then from there, if there is a need for us, before we do anything, we can give them the first priority, relocate them, give them medicines, different type of medicines according to the response, and give them also the shelter. That is the first priority. And then from there, we have to plan for the assessment and see actually for the rest of the community if they are in a safe site. If the disaster is in a medium level, then we can respond accordingly to the occurrences of the disaster. So thank you.
Anybody wants to add on this?
Can I say something?
Yes, Joan, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Tim. About giving first aid, I think there is medical attention required to those who are injured, those who can be seen with injuries. But since it is a disaster, we may have several kinds of injuries, and we may need a psychosocial support team to also support those who have not got physical injuries, but sometimes they can be affected due to shock and other factors. And about my assignment, it was counting the number of people. I'm sorry, where I have been, network was on and off, and even there was noise. So I relocated to another place. So my task was to count the number of people, and I think we count those who don't have physical injuries, then we count those who are injured, and for the death rates, we keep counting as and when. We count those who have died on spot, and then those as recovery goes on, as the rescue team does its work, we keep on counting.
Can you all see my slide?
You what?
My slide?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
I can see from my side.
Who can't see? This is a triage area.
Right, the slide is clear. Triage
This
area.
is, yes. What
Yes,
is
triage
triage?
area.
Whenever any disaster strikes, actually, this is a special note. We will be covering this in our next sessions, coming Saturdays and Sundays. But on particular this topic, I want to share something with you, because we just spoke about preparedness plan for the for the sick and the injured ones. So, for this, preparing a temporary health facility is a mandate when we are taking preparedness into consideration, and there a separate counter will be made as triage counter. Okay, if you can all see this slide, it is written triage over here. We have to write triage and put a red signal like this. And in the field, we will be providing health personnel who will go with bands, different color bands in their hand, look into each and every victim, whether injured, whether not injured, and whether dead. Okay, they will look into each and everything, every people in from every corner and put a band to each and every one, and the counting starts from there. Okay, and according and on what basis they will be putting the bands. This is the these are the different five colors. And what are these? Immediate or life threatening, they will be given red band, and they will be taken to the directly to the emergency center and given um, treatment. Next, orange. Emergency could become life threatening, like a sudden cardiac arrest, okay, a snake bite, or or a shock, hemorrhage. This will be marked as level 2 or orange band. Next is the urgent. He needs a minor attention, maybe a fracture. It is not life threatening, and he will be provided with this brown color band. Fourth is the green color band, not life threatening at all, just a cut. Okay, put local first aid and leave that patient, leave that victim. And last, non-urgent, just see whether he is at all uh, physically affected or not. And then major thing is just counseling. For level 4 and 5, counseling is most important. So, on the basis of triage, we will be sorting all the victims. Here I have written patient, I will correct this. Triage is the simplest form means sorting of patients. Okay. So this is the most important part by when we start giving providing treatment to the disaster victims. Now, anybody wants to add anything, or who else are left with?
Can I come up with my own
Please,
responsibility?
please, Salim.
Can I come up with my own portion of exercise assignment?
Yes, please.
Okay. Uh, Regardful to the preparedness on issue of mortality, that is pertaining the dead bodies, evacuating of dead bodies in a given area that has been affected with a flood. One has to do with the disaster mapping, the exact areas that have been affected with that disastrous activity, first of all.
Yes.
And one has to ensure the stable and proper level of communication. That communication has to do with his own organized team, that will be a rescue team as well, and other members of community-based members that were being affected with the with that disastrous activity, I think. And third of it, as I can say, tools and machineries of life jackets. Because if person is going to evacuate the dead bodies, first he has to work hand in hand with the other person that is responsible for evacuating injured persons and others as well. Because sometimes you must have rescued those ones that have been injured before they have been taken to either before they have been given to given a first aid. Because the ones that have been dead have already gone. No, yes, that's it, George. They have already gone. So after that, some they may need a life jacket since it is an issue of flooding. Some they may be needing of an emergency oxygen as well. They may be taken off. So the main point here is that knowing the number of the casualties from the community-based areas, that's the main point, I think. Knowing the number of the casualties, number of whom and who that have been dead already before before the coming of the either rescue teams as well. So by ensuring but by ensuring all such of points that have been given, and the next level is you have to join hand in hand with the community-based members, more especially by finding experts that can swim into the flooding areas such as fishermen, etc., and much of them to join the rescue team in order to undertake the responsibility easier. Quick rapid response after evacuation of the dead bodies. It may be evacuated using using canoes in some urban areas. They may have boats. Then they will be carried with an ambulance just to go and bury them as well. Then after all, if government has an intervention on such an issue, or either a Red Cross organization that is an NGOs, international NGOs, they may look for an analysis of the number of the dead casualties and the victims as well, the family of the uh, victims that have been affected with such an disastrous event, I think. So here in Nigeria, more especially in my own part in the northwest zone, most of the uh, affected areas annually, yearly, they used to experience a flooding. A flooding used to occur much at times, more especially during the rainy season. Uh, the river basin areas, some of the villages, local areas, they used to experience such an issue. Even such of much of their representatives in their own senatorial districts, they even bought canoes for them for that for the occurrence of the of common flooding, since it has been like a tradition to them. They haven't it is like a normal thing to them because many years ago, and I don't know how to even say it. They have been experienced it for several times. Some of them even from the great grandfathers, more especially that river basin areas, they used to experience such an issue. So I think
Thank you,
about it.
Salim. But actually, uh, two things happened with me. One, I forgot the exact topic which I gave you. And I'm scared away with the entire topic, entire discussion you had.
ask George. He will explain to you about my responsibility. I even asked him to bring much coffins in order to put the dead bodies inside.
He was a dead man.
But
Actually, it is
he
the
has forgotten to do this.
shortest topic I gave you. Uh, I just wanted to know how will you count upon the dead bodies? How will you
Yeah,
sort them? When will you
yeah.
sort them? How will you dispose them of? And how will you how will you bury or burn them? And what protection will you take uh, during this course? And these are the points which have to be covered. So your input was good, but
Thank you.
you got scattered away, and you took all of us in this flow, right? So,
You
so yes, I want to know these points in crisp from anyone else, if you can say, or else I will give my inputs. Yes,
Yeah,
George.
I think let me help my brother Salim. I think he was he went into he took it very broad. Um, uh, but I think, as you have said, some of the factors that were not included were how are we going to treat the dead bodies? How are they going to be buried or burned according to the cultures and the like? So maybe just to help my brother on that one is uh, one, as he already said, there's need to have transportation of or whatever according to the scenario, whether ambulance or canoes, as he said, and those bodies need to be taken to the hospital, mortuaries, and using protective wears, of course, because you don't know the conditions that those people were before the accident happened. So you need to protect yourself and take them to the hospitals, and then identify the relatives of the dead bodies so that they may take them. But in many cases during the instance of disaster, sometimes there's mass. We may opt for mass grave uh, for those people and societies who use graves, but effort should be done to contact the relatives so that they can come and identify their beloved ones. Like, yeah. So sure. Thank you so much.
yes, George, you got that.
Anyone else? Tombe, Evaristo, yes. Mohammed, Mohammed Haruna, you raised your hand.
Okay, good day everyone.
Good
Good
day.
So
day.
my exercise was food supply. So as we all know, safe food supply is one of the major concerns following a natural disaster, which flooding is one of them. So first of all, you need to prepare for emergency food supply. A disaster can easily disrupt food supply at any time. So you have to plan on when are you going to start your food supply. And also, you need to know the type of foods that you are going to supply. So, keep foods that have a long storage life, food that will stay for a long time, and also require and also store food that require a little or cooking or no cooking, water or
Ready
refrigerated
to
in
eat.
case of utilities are disrupted. So you need to store and also you need to supply food that require no cooking or water to eat so that in case of any power, as we all know, when there is flooding, all those power supply is to cut up for precautions. And also you need to keep food that meet the needs of babies or other family members who are on special diet. So, since the community or the environment has about 200 inhabitants, so there is a possibility that some people in the community are on special diet. So you need to supply those kind of foods. And also you need to keep food that are not very salty or spicy, as this would increase the need for drinking water, which may be in short supply. So how are you going to store this food? So when storing food, it is not necessary to buy dehydrated or other type of emergency food. So you need to check the expiry dates on the cans and also dry mixes to make sure to make sure the food will last longer, will last till the end of the disaster. And also you need to use and replace food before it is expiration. So if when checking the food expiration date, once you find out there's an expired food, so you need to remove them to avoid some other problems. So also you need to store food away from ranges or refrigerator exhaust. Heat causes many food to spoil more quickly. So you need to make sure, some kind of food, when you store them in refrigerator, they will just spoil. And also when there is too much heat, they will also spoil. So you need to make sure you don't you need to make sure you don't supply all those kind of food. And even if you supply, you need to make sure you store them in the temperature that will be favorable for those kind of foods. And also protect food from rodents and insects. So you need to make sure that the food you need to make sure the shelter for the storing of food is very hygienic and also away from rodents, so that those rodents will not spoil the food. So, and also, so now, what are the type of food that you need to supply? So, the food you need to supply are canned food and
Canned food and please unmute yourself.
Looks like we have lost him.
I think he's out of connection. Yeah, but as we're waiting for him, I can just continue to say that on the type of food, I think you also need to be very careful, because it's not one heart fits all. Some people, like, you have to be very, very careful on what type of food to give, because not everybody eats meat, and even meat, some do not eat pork. So you have to also be very sensitive when purchasing such a food, because you may end up hurting other people. So I think you also need to take that into consideration when doing the supply of such a food.
Yes, it's a very important point, because we have to be very we have to supply generic food so that it is easily consumable by each and every victim. And we have to look into the contents, the supplements, means
apologies,
full of
I
uh,
had network
yes,
issues.
protein. Yes, okay, not an issue. Protein supplement of protein, minerals, carbohydrate, and their contents. Uh, this should be checked enough. Yes, Mohammed, continue. Tombe wants to say something. Tombe, you want to add?
Yes, I actually wanted to add something very small. I'm saying time is going. In disaster plan and response, there is what we call normally before interventions, before any response. My colleague mentioned before that normally there is a quick assessment that is normally done to determine the population in that particular area where the disaster normally occurs. And then therefore, it will enable the team that will be responding to determine the available resource that they have, and thereafter they can respond immediately on the ground. As they are going, that quick assessment will enable them in case if there is need in the component of, like, for example, provisions of food, was NFI and health related response are needed, they can be able to determine and respond immediately. That is just brief what I need.
Tombe, you are
And
very much
thanks.
right. Thank you, Tombe. You are very much right. But again, I am repeating that they all were being given a scenario of flood, and in that case, because flood, excepting earthquake, you can get early warning for each and every other disaster scenarios like cyclone, flood, everything. Okay, so here I gave them a scenario of flood, and in that case, what the preparation, what sort of preparation the community is going to take in order to save the residents of the community. They have drafted them that plan on the basis of the responsibilities which was dissipated to them by me yesterday in the class. Okay, so on the basis of that, Mohammed was just giving some points which we will count on while taking care of the food supplements, because storage of food, looking to the future aspect or the upcoming disaster is a very important issue. It's a burning issue because unless and until you provide food to the community, how will they survive? So what type of food you are going to supply them, how you are going to store them, looking into the condition of flood, and what type of, now how you are going to save those foods from the pesticides. Here rodents play very important role in case of floods, so he mentioned about rodents as well. So these are the important things. Okay, Tombe, could I make myself clear?
Yeah, for sure, you are clear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, Mohammad Haruna, you want to add something? You were gone because of some network issue, I believe. You have something to say?
Yes, so I was mentioning the type of food to supply.
Yes.
So the type of food you need to supply, they are butter, fresh fruit and vegetables, and dry meat, canned food. So these are the type of food that you need to supply, so that you make sure they have they will last longer, maybe till after the flooding. So, and also there are some type of food that you need to discard immediately after you notice some odor, some unusual odor, and maybe when you found out one of the can is leaking, so you need to discard. And also you make sure you the flooded water is not mixed with that food. So immediately when you find out that there is a food that is mixed with flooding water, so you discard it immediately. And so I think this is what I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add?
Yes. Um,
Yes.
Mine was
Yes.
on the vulnerable group.
Tejani.
Like, mine was on the vulnerable group. So, if you can still recall what is on the picture. it is on flooding. You see some houses, animals, and people have been
See?
flooded, or there are some of these disastrous impact will have been reduced. Let's say when you look at the town, when I did say like a proper design has been made, so or dam has been constructed, and a lot of a kind of, let's say, the drainages are well planned in the town. So the effect or the impact of this disaster has been reduced.
Tijani, I'm so sorry I could not get your points. Could you please illustrate or elaborate them?
Okay.
Did anybody? Yes, say.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you. You can carry on.
Okay. Okay. The point I want to make here is, I say my own tax that was given yesterday is on the vulnerable group. So from
Yes,
the picture,
vulnerable groups. Yes.
yes. What I'm trying to say is, from that picture of the flooding, it is not only the people that are part of the vulnerable group. Some livestock, I can see some livestock and houses are also being washed away. So what I'm trying to say that all these ones, they are all fall under the vulnerable group. So as for mitigating or preparing for preparedness of this disaster, had it say proper design of the town and other factors are being considered, or more approach, some set of approach has been given, the impact of this disaster on this vulnerable group has been reduced. So the point I made, like let's say proper design of the town, maybe construction of dams and other things.
You have mixed everything. I'm sorry to say. Uh, okay. So I think by this time we are done with all of you. So let me just mm, first of all, let me thank you all for your presentation. It was so nice. Great presentation you have made, all of you. And now it's the time for me to sum up. So for that, let me project my slide. And I will start with this vulnerable group today.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to give some, only just one comment.
Hmm?
Yeah,
Please share.
I was observing all the assignment that you have given, and
Hmm.
I realize it is actually very important also for me to say this. I don't know whether you and the team will agree with me. The point that I actually wanted to make is that these scenarios,
Mhm.
for my colleague and the team to also understand it very clearly, it's like one has to put himself or herself like at a position whereby like you are leading an entity uh, in response to like disaster. In this aspect, I think this scenario can work much better. Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult to understand. Like, for instance, if you are working with an NGO, put yourself like as if you are the disaster risk focal person in that place. Like if you are working with the government, I think you also need to put yourself like in that aspect. And in that way, I think this scenario will work much better. And I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Salim. Yes, you are right. And in fact, I think I explained this point yesterday as well, that consider yourself as a part of that community. You are working either your role. Who are you? Either you are part of an NGO who is whose work is relief and response, or you are a government personnel, or you are the victim itself. You live in that community. Considering either of these points, you just design the plan and draft. I have heard all of your descriptions. Your participation was is highly appreciated, and all of you have given a clear picture to me that whatever has been taught to you, not only in my session but in others session also, you are very much open to the disaster scenario and what might happen as a consequence of any natural or man-made calamity. Uh, so coming to the disaster preparedness measures, we discussed on this yesterday as well. Disaster mapping. Before we start any plan, we must have this is the first point. This is disaster mapping. You remember yesterday I showed you on map also disaster earthquake map. If you have a clear idea about the area where you reside, this was mentioned by Tombe as well. If you have the idea of the nature of disaster your area is going to have, it can be affected. You can prepare your preparedness plan on the basis of that. Now, these preparedness plans for disaster management are quite useful. You all can see that yes, these are very useful, and each and every small component, whether big or small, you have to consider them, take into consideration, and make proper arrangement for them. And once you have the disaster map with you, or the hazard map with you, you wait for the early warning. Early warning is what? In case of flood. Achha, who gives early warning? Do we get early warning in case of earthquakes? Yes or no? Do we get any warning in case of earthquakes? No.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Let me respond to that.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Just a quick one. The answer is no. But
Yes.
some week
Mhm.
ago, and I'm quite sure my colleagues are also aware that there was an earthquake that happened in Turkey and Syria,
Yes.
whereby some scientists, I just read a journal.
Mm.
They happens to come up with the scientific innovations of how this earthquake can be determined or before it happens. But I think it is not yet
No, no.
effective. I think so.
But this is all generic. There is no scientific basis as of now, because you can just feel the tremor of just shivering of the ground. That's it. But from that you cannot conclude that a earthquake of this much of magnitude is going to occur in few minutes or a day or two. So, and another thing is that yes, if you after that shivering of the ground, shaking of the ground, if you go for seismic analysis or seismic study, if you do, then you can have some idea. But under the ground, uh, the seismic waves, there are two types of waves, P waves and S waves. They move like anything. If they, it is not that wherever you are standing right this moment and felt that shaking of the ground, earthquake is going to happen there only. It may go to some other place and earthquake may occur there. Means the focal point maybe somewhere else, and its expressions may be felt in some other place. So it needs more study, and then we can conclude into this point. Okay. Now, other than this earthquake, it cannot be predicted as per today's science. It cannot be predicted, but other things you can predict from meteorological studies. So once you get the forecasting, you uh, means the community waits for the early warnings from the agencies who are responsible for this forecasting. Then they start preparing the community plan. Actually, the community plan is being prepared uh, much earlier. Distribution of responsibilities, what have been doing today for since an hour, this starts. Okay, so and after everything, after the response work is done, post disaster review, this is very important because you can learn lesson from this review only. What what good you have done, what were the mistakes done by you. Here I'm pointing out the team who is actually who is leading this uh, plan. That team I'm talking about. What mistakes have been countered, and how, in what better way this can be solved. And this needs training. It may be mock drill, it may be pen and paper, and further exercises. And at last, we need public awareness. Land use zoning, this we left yesterday. Land use zoning for disaster management. We have to think of, in order to save our lands, our agricultural crops, we have to practice land use zoning and minimize loss of food crops. Okay, like in mountainous region, what type of vegetation will you practice? Flatland vegetation or terrace farming?
Yes.
In mountainous areas, what type of vegetations will you exercise? Will you farm it?
Yes. Let
Uh,
me respond to this.
yes, please.
Yeah, in our locations here, this is a semi-arid area.
Mhm.
What the community normally used to plant along the mountainous area, when it comes to vegetables, these are
Mm.
they normally plant like we have the okra, they plant the cowpeas, and they also do plant cereals, but there are specific also type of cereals when it comes to, yeah, the sorghums, but the other types that survived here in the locations. But
And
if
what
you
type of
bring any
farming will
type
you?
of sorghum, it will not. Eh?
Yes, yes. Continue.
Sorry, please.
Continue.
Yeah, I said for cereal crops, they only plant in this area only sorghum, and
Okay.
it is
Now
it,
just
it
tell
can
me.
survive.
Now just tell me. Okay, you just specified about the crops. What my question was, what type of farming do you find there?
I
No,
got
don't
it
talk
clear
about.
now.
You got it clear?
Yeah. Yes. This is just subsistence farming.
It is subsistence farming. It is terrace
Yeah.
farming. It is
Yeah.
step farming. Okay. Because landslide are very common issues in mountainous areas, and in case of earthquake also, uh, the mountains they shutters, and for that reason, in order to check the loss of soil as a result of yeah, stone fall or landslides and all these things, terrace farming or step farming is highly practiced in mountainous areas. Okay, so these are some of the land use patterns which we follow depending upon the type of disasters we commonly find in different topographical areas. Now coming to Muhammad Haruna's part, he was no, not Muhammad Haruna. Whom did I give uh, vulnerable group? Whom did I give vulnerable group? That was Muhammad. I think he has left. Okay. Now coming back to the vulnerable group, that day also I told you, vulnerable group consists mainly of women, pregnant women, lactating women, children, then uh, geriatric people means old aged people, then your physically and mentally abled or challenged persons. Okay, they are considered as vulnerable groups. Now, in disaster situations, generally it is the women who suffer the most. We have seen this. Why do women suffer most? See, first of all, if acha, woman, whether she is working or a homemaker, she has the responsibility to feed the entire family. She cooks. She thinks what where from she will get the resources, uh, what quantity of resources is required per day, and if even nobody is bothered in her family about the situation and the responses they give in the situation, uh, is a woman uh, মানে she has her own responsibilities, and she takes all the responsibilities on her shoulder and carry out the necessary works. Okay, so but the thing is that if we always find that if even she is feeding the entire family, she hardly thinks of herself, and she neglects herself. So uh, she lacks nutritional values, and again she is a victim of social taboos as well, because uh, we know women need privacy, but uh, if the privacy in terms of clothing, in terms of washroom, in terms of social security is not maintained is not maintained in that disastrous situation, the most hampered condition will be with the women. So we have to take special care of women during any disaster situation, and if we can if we can get early warnings, then in the preparedness plan we have to chalk out everything separately for the women, for this vulnerable group, especially for the women, so that there they are socially, physically, mentally secured, and they don't feel neglected, and they can survive well for the benefit of the society, and for as well as for the benefit of her family also. Now, going into the detail, Tumbe, may I please ask you to go through this?
Disaster preparedness and women. Yeah. In disaster situations, generally, it is the women who suffer the most. Their nutritional status, mobility, access to information is less as compared to men, especially in poorer sections of the society. In the event of death or physical disaster,
Disability of men
yeah,
arising out.
there is there is something preventing it. In the event of death or physical disability of men arising out of the disasters, it is the women who shoulder the responsibilities. Though in many developing countries, women's role in emergency planning, risk assessment is not much or at times totally absent. Still, women display tremendous courage, resilience, and necessary skills in crisis. It is women who come forward to provide care to the affected family members and arrange for food, water, fuel for the families affected by disasters. The appropriate location of washrooms, separate toilets for women in relief camps, their security and safety are generally neglected.
Anything to elaborate?
On this,
Yes?
No, it's clear from my side. It's clear from my side.
Okay.
yeah, from my side, it is. I agree with this point. I have studied a similar case scenario in natural resource management. Women are actually they carry on their shoulders. It is captured around 78% of the household work when it
Yes.
is in Africa here. I think that is true. I agree with it.
Yes. Now, George.
Yes, ma'am.
Go through this.
Yeah, sure. Vulnerable groups and preparedness strategies. Disaster preparedness for vulnerable sectors need to focus on the following: sustainable livelihood programs, guaranteeing
Wait,
dignity and right to live,
wait.
special.
1 second.
Okay,
One
all right.
second, George, please. What is sustainable livelihood programs? What do you mean by this?
From my understanding, these are programs that uh, that keeps people going for a longer period of time. Those which are reliable, that supports the socio-economical status of people or vulnerable people in this case.
Yes, because actually, uh, when we are making some preparedness plans, these points come into existence, and they are very important point to be covered up, because we are now aware of the society, the people who are living, and the type of threat, the type of disasters they usually face. Okay, now
Yes.
in any type of disaster, what is the first thing? They have the chance of losing their jobs and all, money, the source of their income is lost. So we have to think on this, and we have to provide them such livelihood programs that once they come back with the once they come back with the situation, and come back and try to come back in the normalcy, in the normal life, they start going to their work, and they start their normal work so that they can earn their own livelihood. Okay, so for that reason, like 100 days work. India government has introduced one of these program called 100 days work. Means once you cover this 100 days time, once it is over, your work is done. Then you can start again. Until this 100 days you will be earning some amount, say per day 200 rupees. Okay, so you will be you will be earning 200 rupees per day per person till 100 days. So your bread and butter is secured, and after that, depending upon your performance, you can continue, or government is going to select you again for another 100 set of 100 days, or within that 100 days of time, if it is not worth of your working, if you don't feel that no, I don't belong to this category of people with whom I will be working as a labor or something like that, then just coming back to your normal position, you can switch over and start your own business. But for that need also you need some time, and this time government is providing you with this type of short-term programs. Okay, so this will give you sustainability. Then guaranteeing dignity and right to live. What is this point? Women, I just mentioned here, women, they suffer many sort of things. uh, for example, they even suffer sexual harassment a lot during disasters, while just instances have shown from the relief camp, though they are going to the washrooms which are constructed far away distant, in a far away distant places. While going to the washroom, they are sexually harassed by men over there, okay, or the workers over there, who are either the victims or who are working for the sake of the victims. Okay, so they are actually molesting that particular woman. So these type of, because whether rich or poor, each and every person, child or adult, each and every person has their self dignity, and they have the right to live with their self dignity. So it is the duty of the government, by imposing policies and laws, that if this type of incident comes uh, into scene, in any instances are found, and in such scenario, government will take drastic action against those persons. And for this, a separate team will work. Separate team consisting of at least one woman will come, and they will be monitoring this entire. Who is this? Just mute your mic. Salim, I think your background noise is coming.
I think
Salim need to mute.
at any moment from now, I'm running out of battery. I think.
Okay, so so a team specially meant for this thing, social justice and all these things, to look after uh, uh, dignity of women, to look after secure social security of women and girl childs, especially because this time we find girl child and women in order to earn their bread and butter, they are being sold outside, or they are being flied away across the borders and sold in other countries. So to work as sexual. Salim, please mute your mic. To work to take prostitution as their career. So these are to be stopped, and means child trafficking, uh, uh, then women trafficking. So in order to do this, a special um, team has to be arranged, and who will be looking after women and girl children. Okay. Third, Joseph, sorry, George.
Yes, Ma, it is very clear what you have said. Let's go through it again. For certain sustainable livelihood programs, which the doctors were explained, guaranteeing dignity of and right to live. I think this also includes all human rights for all the people when handling people cases in disaster places, special shelters, especially for women and elderly and physically challenged, as the doctors already explained. And maybe just to add on the elderly and physical challenge, because I think in many cases we tend to forget to especially design for such people very much in disasters, and not even disasters, even some offices. There are some buildings which are not friendly to people with disabilities. So I think this is a very important factor to consider. And also building up a
Yes.
care of female relief workers, and also training of women volunteers and children in preparedness activities, including first aid, evacuation, search and rescue, etc. Sure.
Then who is going to read this one? Adamu?
Francis. Francis is going to read.
Okay, I
Francis?
can read.
Yes.
Okay. Muhammad Haruna or Francis?
Preparedness.
Okay.
Okay, so disaster preparedness with relevance to housing, infrastructure, and livestock. Point one: disasters which are extreme events cause destruction of human beings, livestock, property, infrastructure, and other resources. Point two: preparedness measures need to be taken for the protection of housing, infrastructure, and livestock. Point three: concrete measures like adhering to structural specifications, building codes, and bylaws in housing and infrastructure can help in reducing the intensity of disaster impact.
Thank you. Acha, last time also we focused on this issue that we have to be very while discussing mitigation. You remember, we have to be very careful about the infrastructures and what type of infrastructure is being made in our area, and whether it is resilient to the type of disaster our area is prone to. Like for flooding, we will I showed you that stilt house. For earthquake prone areas, we have to retrofit our houses. We have to make RCC houses. You remember that? Engineered and non-engineered houses.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma, I
lot of
remember the houses with
houses,
long pillars.
infrastructures. Yes. So, with the help of law, also we have to take a serious note on this, and not only infrastructure meant for human, we have to be very careful about the infrastructures meant for our livestock as well. Means I'm talking about here about the goshalas, means the cow sheds and the poultry sheds and all. So we, depending upon the type of disaster, now which what we will be covering, what type of precautions we will take, what precautionary measures we are going to take in case of areas where which is prone to earthquake, then port, then prone to cyclone, and then prone to flood. Okay. Now, who is going to read this?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, yeah. Before we move ahead, I just a quick one. I wanted to bring more highlights on these sustainable livelihood programs.
Yes,
Uh,
Tombe.
last year, Yes, I just wanted to say an example based on my
Yes, sure,
understanding.
sure. Sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I just want to bring a scenario. Last year, as we were planning to come up with concept in
Hmm.
order to respond to the disaster-prone areas in our country here, especially where I'm working. We were actually challenged on categorization of responses when it comes to
Hmm.
emergency, when it comes to resilience. Uh, in fact, I did not understand this idea properly, but as project keeps on going, I came to realize that there are particular activities that can be regarded as sustainable related activities when responses are to be. Uh, and then also there are some interventions that can also be regarded as emergency. As you have explained, when it comes to sustainable livelihood programs, uh, for me to give more like physical activities that people normally do when it comes to interventions are like strengthening like these VSLA groups. You can talk of strengthening corporate groups. You can talk of like, for example, supporting farmer groups in disaster-prone related areas, like with agricultural inputs, and also some training so that they will be able to come up with exactly what happened. And as the project ends, they will be able to cope up with, their livelihoods in that particular locations. And in most cases, sustainable livelihood programs does not happen in just like 3 or 6 month periods. It takes always long. It can be like
Yes,
1.5 year. It can be 2 years intervention. It can be 3 years. It can be 5 years, based on these uh, examples just that I've given. Thanks.
thank you.
Mm.
Now, coming to the uh, earthquake resilient buildings. Who is going to read this? No, there is a simple note. Just see, just
Let me read. Let me read.
Let me read it. Let me read it.
okay,
Yeah,
Kara.
go on.
Okay,
Numerous aspect make building more resilience during the earthquake. Here are tip. Here are five of them. An appropriate foundation. Creating a flexible foundation for building could help in stay standing during an earthquake. One option is one option is to build the structure on top of fat that separate the building from the ground. This approach also includes trees around the foundation for further protection. Since this foundation design kept the building's base away from the soil, it was more resistant to seismic. It more resistant to seismic pulse.
okay.
The ses-
Stop, Kara. Stop, stop, stop. Anybody can explain me this point? Anybody? See, when I'm asking you to read in a way that everybody can understand what I wanted to mean through these points. Because these are not found in your, you'll not get these points in the book. Okay. Now, in case of earthquake, what happens? The ground shakes and the building and your structure is on the ground. The foundation. What is the foundation? The base of the
the base
house
layer of the building,
is on the
foundation,
ground.
the base layer of the building.
Yes. Now, if you don't, yeah, yeah.
Ma?
Please put your mouth mic off because
Okay, ma.
background sound is coming. Now, if you don't take special care of the foundation, then with a simple trimmer, your house will tilt. Okay, the construction will tilt, and once it is tilted, it will not come back to the position because a house is a concrete structure and it does not have any elasticity. Okay, so what we have to make, we have to adapt appropriate foundation for buildings constructed in earthquake zone areas. Now, what you can do, you just make double lining. Let me show you myself. This is your house, okay, and this is the foundation, and my finger is the ground, okay. So this baseline is on the ground. If there is a simple tremor, the house will tilt. In order to save it, what we can do, we can carve out a trench surrounding the entire area, and then put a pad on this. Means this will be what pad we are talking about here. It is an extra lining we are talking about, which we have to put on the trench so that if even the ground the effect will come on the pad, and pad will instead give a back uh, thrust to the force, means the ground, and it will balance the tremor and it will not affect your building. So for this reason, an appropriate foundation is required. Padding. Okay. Now next point, seismic dampers.
Okay. Seismic dampers. Earthquake-resistant building also need future to help absorb shocks. Provision of seismic damper during building construction help resisting collapse during an earthquake.
Next.
A drainage
Next.
Mechanisms.
Hmm.
Full water can create structure complications when the disaster occur in places with loose sandy soils. The shake can result in phenomena called liquefaction.
What is liquefaction?
Liquefaction.
What is liquefaction?
Liquefaction means that something that is liquid something. That is meant by liquefaction. Something that is watery.
Yes, accumulation of water.
Yeah, accumulation of water in something. That is liquefaction.
Then
It make buildings sink or move to one side, and sewage pipes may rise to the surface. When the soil solidify against after earthquake, the buildings stay in their sunk tight
tilted positions.
tilted positions. Thus, to avoid such condition, thus to avoid such collapsing conditions, provision of drains will help collection water to escape and prevent liquefaction. If I understand this paragraph, this paragraph
Yes, please.
this paragraph is telling us that when you are going to build a house, so first thing is that don't build house up head. You have to look at an engineer or just surveyor or just geological engineers, so that
Yes.
they will make the house. They will help you to construct a standard and stable house. Because when there is those zoological engineers, they will even look at the soil to see into the soil which type of building this soil will accommodate or will take. So they will take the soil even to go and test it, to test the soil whether the place will take the type of building you want, especially when you need to do stray building, 2 story building, 3 story building, or 4 story building. So that's what I understand by this paragraph. I don't know whether there is more information.
No, it's good. No, basically there are two types of thing we have to consider in regarding this point. Firstly, the type of soil, whether the soil can absorb water or the soil will not absorb water or and deplete water. Okay, in case it can absorb water, the soil will be swollen. Okay, and if the soil cannot absorb water, what will happen? It will flood. So in that case, what will happen? We have to channelize. Uh, we have to make channels so that water which is coming to the soil, which is entering the soil, comes out of it and is safely removed, drained out. Okay, uh, so that the building is not collapsed.
Yeah. Yes, we get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next point.
Okay. Material with adequate doxility.
Ductility. Ductility.
Docility. Material with adequate docility. Docility
Ductility.
is
Ductility. Ductility.
ductility. Yeah,
Yes.
ductility describe how well a material can tolerate plastic deformation before it fails.
Yes, it is the resisting capacity of any particular material. Okay, means I am giving you a force and you are resisting me. How much? Up till how much you can resist me? This is the force I am exerting on you, and this is the force you are exerting on me. If your force is more, then I will fail. Okay, and if it is less, then I will push you. So how much ductile, how much strong you are is uh, is projected by the ductility of the materials which is used for constructing the house. Yes, say.
Okay. Those material with high ductility can absorb large amount of energy without breaking. Without breaking structure, steel is one of the most ductile materials, while brick, brick and concrete are low ductile materials.
Hmm. Now, structural reinforcement. This is all about how how you are calculating the joint and wall calculations for framing the uh, concrete RCC ones frames. George, are you there?
Yes, doctor.
I was looking for George. Evaristo?
Yes, can I add something there before we proceed?
George said that his battery has gone low, so he left.
Okay. Yes, Gara, say.
I said George said that his battery has gone low, so he had already gone. He left.
Francis will take it up.
Yeah, before Francis takes off, there is something I just need to add on the ductile materials.
Yes, Tombe.
Yeah, like in our areas here, it's a semi-arid area, and during dry season, it used to be windy. Like the design of roofings that normally people do here is that they use the iron related metals, whereby they do galvanize it, and I think it
Yes,
is one of
galvanized.
the material.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
We'll come.
yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Francis. Francis.
5. Structure enforcement. Engineers and designers have various methods for strengthening a building structure against potential earthquakes. Many of those redirect seismic forces, for example, shear walls and blast flames, transfer variety of forces from the floors and roof to the foundation. The diaphragms are rigid horizontal planes that move lateral forces to vertical resistant parts of the building, such as a
One second,
building wall. Come again?
please. Shear walls. This is a structure, okay?
Yeah.
This is a structure. House. This is a house. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, these are the shear walls. These are the shear walls. This is the roof, and this is the bottom of your house. Okay. Now, the lateral forces which is exerted on these shear walls, lateral forces will come four ways: two this and two like this. Okay. Now, up the way, up till up to what extent the shear walls can resist this force and does not tilt is counted into this thing. And to this, the roof is also attached. Okay, so if it is tilting, it will affect the roof as well. And if the building is a second story or third storage one, which is a multi-story building, entire building will be affected as a result of this shear uh, shear walls and lateral forces on them. Understood? Could I make
Yes,
it the
ma'am.
point here?
Yes, it is clear. It
Yes,
is
it's
well
clear.
understood.
Okay. Now, second point, Francis.
Then diaphragms are rigid horizontal planes that move radial forces to variable resistant parts of the building, such as a building's wall or framework. There are also movement resistance frames. Those possibilities make a building frame's joints rigid while letting to the other parts move. Point number 3, shorter buildings have less flexibility than taller ones. Thus, engineers
Because
typically...
one second. Because we give less importance to shorter buildings. If it is a 5-story one, say 8-story one, we give less importance to that. But we have to be very, and when it is a multi-story building or a skyscrapers, we give much attention and build it structurally reinforced, so that any earthquake cannot just collapse it. But we have to be very careful about the uh, yeah, 4 5 story buildings also as well. Okay.
All right. Thus, engineers typically realize that they must provide more structural reinforcement for structures that are only a few stories tall versus the skyscrapers. So, just to add, that means
Yes, please.
countries that are poor,
Yes.
most of the countries that are poor have shorter buildings
Ah,
than countries that are rich or developed countries. Basically, these countries that are developed, they are more prone to earthquakes than the countries that are developing, since most of the countries that are developing have shorter buildings and they don't have really tall buildings.
yes. But while discussing this disaster point, we have to think about each and every one. We cannot just focus on to the poor or developing countries. We have to take the entire world into account. And for that, from that point, yes, you are correct, Francis. The developing countries or the poor countries where multi-story buildings or the skyscrapers are a question or a think of or a dream to come true, they are much more safer because um, no more it is always a blessing. Then now coming to the cyclonic part, Adamu, where have you been? You did the
Adamu
cyclone
seems to
resistant
have
building.
left us. Adamu left us, I think.
No,
Oh,
he
he
is
is back.
here.
He's back.
Adamu, you are
He's
not
back
listening.
already.
Yes,
He's back. He's back.
I had like 5 emergencies that I have to attend. I have patients. It wasn't easy.
Oh, you're a doctor, Adamu?
I am a nurse, accident emergency nurse.
Okay, good to hear.
Yes, ma. So I was having patient with cervical fracture and wrist fracture. So I need to attend to and refer some of
Oh,
them to a higher
why?
facility.
Why did it happen?
They fall from height, construction site.
Oh, he fall.
Yeah,
Oh my God. Is he alive?
he is alive, but virtually lost all the reflexes of the body.
Oh.
So, sorry for
So will you
joining
be
late.
able to? No, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's an emergency call. It's okay. Um, but will you be able to go through the text, or shall I relax you further?
Ma?
Will you be able to go through the text?
Yes, no, I will attend it.
Okay. Next slide. Move on, please. Yeah.
Hello, ma.
There is
You read this one. Cyclone resistant buildings.
it was at there was a network.
Well, there is network. I should read.
Yes.
Okay. I should read this point.
Designing
Doctor.
cyclone resistant buildings. Just
Man, I
think of
can't.
the area which is cyclonic, which is cyclone prone. In that area, what type of buildings you will be suggesting as a disaster professional? Okay, so we are counting on this part. Yes, come read.
Okay, I should read.
Yes,
Okay. Designing cyclone resistant buildings. Can you hear me?
yes, we can all hear you. Please
Yes, we
proceed.
can hear you.
Okay. Designing cyclone resistant buildings. In case of cyclone resistance construction of buildings, the following guidelines need to be adhered to. First
Yes,
point, designing of house, schools, hospitals, etc. in accordance with the wind velocity of the area.
yes.
Second point, the shape of the roof, limitations on the projection in the building, etc. needs to adopt accordingly.
Acha,
So,
wait a second. Now, what is called projection over here? Uh, See, in
projection.
a cyclonic area, we have to be very careful about the directions of wind.
Yes.
Usually, there is a trend, and we find that the wind in that particular area always blow from, say, from west to east. So we have to build our buildings in a way so that the glass doors, there are no glass doors, or if there are glass doors, it is framed, and there are no openings towards the western part, because once the wind starts blowing, it will be broken, and accident may take place. So looking into the velocity of the wind and the direction of the wind, we have to design our house. First thing. Secondly, the shape of the roof. The roof must be a regular one, not an irregular one. Okay. And we won't be allowing any projections in the building. What type of projections we are talking about? Like keeping antenna or solar panels or water tanks. These are projections usually find, or any mobile towers, okay, or television towers, network towers. We should not allow this type of projections on the roof because the roof are open structures and they are very much exposed to wind and all. So once wind starts blowing, these projections will face the wind, and there will be no obstructions, and these structures will hamper the situation. The structures will fall down and result in disaster, destructions, like short circuit may take place, or in case of breaking down of water storage tanks, water impoundment will take place, or in case of breaking down of networks, cable connection, accident from dislocation of cable connection may take place. These are the issues which we can encounter in case of any cyclone over any area.
Okay.
The third point,
Okay. Choosing of building site at a ground level of above the probable
probable.
maximum tide, probable maximum tide level.
Yes, we have to be
Provide.
very, we have, one second, we have to be very knowledgeable about our area, how much, up to what height the tide may rise, and we have to construct our infrastructures on the ground which is much higher than the uh, maximum probable tide level. Okay, so that if even the tide comes to that level, our houses, our infrastructures, our properties are saved. So uh, we have to exercise on this, depending upon the past disasters, histories of past disasters, and data from meteorological department, up till what height the tide may occur, the waves may rise, and accordingly we have to select ground level. It again is a uh, policy of the government to deploy this. Last point.
Okay, last point, providing inclined roofs instead of flat roof.
So that there is no accumulation of water. If even water comes on the roof, accumulates on the roof, it is drained away automatically. Okay, so we will of definitely go for slanting roofs and not flat roofs. Then
Okay. Ensuring connection of roof trusses of, of reinforced concrete cement RCC for masonry walls, roof property design, anchor bolts, and base plates.
anchor bolts and brace plates means we have to fix our roof in a way that if cyclonic wind is there, it is not blown away. Okay, this I'm not and we have to encourage RCC roofing, means concrete roofing we have to encourage, and not a galvanized roof, or tin shades, or thatched roofs. We should not encourage in cyclonic areas. Okay, next
Okay.
point.
Okay, next point, avoiding projecting elements such as antennas, and the tall chimney, or these are to be kept low and anchored to the structure.
Yes,
Then next
I
point.
have just described this point.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, next point. Reinforcing walls with a vertical steel enforcement.
good.
Okay. encouraging the use of reinforced masonry with include bricks walls, hollow, concrete, block masonry, etc.
These are the types of materials we must use in case of um, construction of our houses, of any infrastructure. Yes, then
Okay. Reducing the use of glass in windows or doors, that substituting it with glazing bars or
mullions.
mullions. Mullions.
Glazing bars or mullions, yes. We should not use glass doors because they are very much prone to they shutters quickly. They are fragile, and we will go for glazing bars or mullions instead, so that our so that accidents cuts are can be avoided. Yes. Next is will be flood. I want somebody else to go through this.
Before we start flooding resistance,
Yes,
I just wanted to add uh, on the type of the buildings. I think tall buildings should be very dangerous with the cyclones, because we know as we go up, the winds, the speed of the winds are very high due to lack of
yes,
friction. Yeah, so
yes,
basically tall buildings are very dangerous state because of the very strong winds up there.
yes,
So basically, short buildings um, are better off in cyclonic areas. Thank you.
yes. Thank you. Now,
I have
after this flood, yes, please.
my question. What is the advantage of using steel to build a high building like they have three upstairs, or as previous point you talk about this instead of using cement and bricks, they should use steel to build
Yes,
a
still
house. So what is the advantage of using that steel?
they are ductile, now.
Eh?
They are ductile. They
Okay.
they have the good quality. They can resist this type of forces.
Okay. But you mean that when it comes to this disaster like cyclone, these types of wind, they
Yes,
cannot destroy it.
because the
Okay, let
composition of steel are compact. You know, atomic. The gap between two atoms are very minimum in case of steel than in case of bricks and all these things. For that reason, they are more stronger, and it is always
Okay.
suggested to use this type of materials like steel, which can resist maximum force, to be used in structural constructions.
if I get well, you say that bricks and cement can easily break when there is a force,
Okay.
rather than the steel.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm.
But in like a Europe country, you see a story building like up to 875 feet.
See,
800. Are they using that steel? They are not
yes,
using bricks.
they are using steel.
Okay.
They are using steel in the in while making the foundations. Foundation structure is made up of steel only.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Somebody just go through a flood, and then we will wind up for today. Next, we will be doing in our next class.
Okay. In case designing flood resistant buildings. In case of flood resistant house or building constructions, following measures can be sorted to reduce damage. 1. Constructing building on best bearing soil and high elevated ground. 2. Incorporating ground drainage and escape lands in the layout. Growing thick plantation around the structure. Compacting the structure and providing rigid framework. Compacting the structure and providing rigid framework construction or bracing them.
Yeah. Want any explanation on this?
Yes, incorporating drainage and escape lanes in the layouts.
In case of flood, we often get a common complaint of sewage blockages of sewage. So unless we give a clear, if it is blocked, then impounding of water will occur maximum. So a clear sewage system, a clear drainage system is always encouraged in flood prone areas so that there is no blockaging of those areas because of any debris and all this thing, and constant flow of water is maintained so that no stagnation of water is found, and as a result of this, uh, which will further actually affect, rather encourage uh, vector-borne diseases and waterborne diseases to occur and all. So we have to be very careful about the drainage systems. Any other line? Shall we wind up for today?
Before that, I have a little request.
Yes, Adamus,
Yes, ma. It's just you can just leave the slides just once for even 5 seconds, just to leave them, ma.
Which one?
The slides. Yeah, in the slide of the lectures, just to leave them, just even 5 seconds, just to leave them.
Adamu, why can't you, Adamu, later, please, later send her to your email so that you can display it to our WhatsApp group.
Okay, I think, okay, no problem.
No, I didn't get both of you. What did you say?
Ma, help us to send to one person through email so that we can go back and read it again.
The slide presentation.
Yes.
The slide.
You want me to share these slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely I will share. I will share everything. First you understand, I will share everything. Be very clear. I will share everything in the group. Okay?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
day, everybody. We will meet on 25th. Okay, on at 7:15.
Okay.
Okay. Then we will.
But I wanted to say something.
Yes, say.
Well, I have a little observation.
Then we will go for the slide.
Just I want to comment regarding this flood and cyclone. In point
Yes,
3,
please.
growing thick plantation around the structure. So, growing
Yes,
thick
afforestation.
plantation around the structure. In the case of cyclone, so both planting of trees serve as windbreakers in some incident, right?
No, growing thick plantation around the structure, we are encouraging this in flood prone areas, not in cyclonic prone areas. Okay,
Afforestation, right?
firstly. Secondly, if we look for afforestation in flood prone areas, it will resist the flow of water. and and once the flow of water is obstructed, flooding will take flooding will not take place. Okay, it will get much more time to settle down. It will be easier for the water to settle down because roots
Okay.
and the banks of the river, they will not be broken down as a result of floods. They will be because trees, roots of trees are
Okay.
anchor the soil very tightly, and there will be no flooding in the banks of the river, and uh, crops, vegetation, etc. will be saved. Yes, anything else?
Okay.
But ma here in my area, ma
Yes, say yeah,
here
yeah.
here in my area in Jigawa State, Nigeria,
Yes.
we normally experience this flooding each and every year.
Okay. Why?
Flood disaster, especially this Jigawa that I mentioned earlier. But as you said, planting tree can reduce this flood, isn't it?
Yes.
But sometimes you see water uprooted these trees.
Ha, there will because if uh, there is where flood is encountered with heavy wind or storm, then uprootation is one of the process. It may take place, but mm, usually plantation always encourage anchoring of soil and stop breaking up of your river banks and the flow of the river as well, flow of water as well.
Okay.
Because actually these plants are working as barriers, no, to the flow. They are resisting the flow of water. For that
But
reason,
maybe in my area because the soil, the nature of the soil,
if,
maybe.
the
Your
nature of
area,
the soil
Jigawa
is
State,
not
is an
absorbed.
floodplain area.
Nigeria is a very flood prone area. Yes, nature of the soil here is not
Especially is
absorbing them.
Yahaya's area. I went to Yahaya's area, state, last 3 weeks. It was very, very devastating. The flood.
Hmm. Have you ever find out the soil? What type of soil you have over there?
I think it's a sandy soil.
Sandy soil. I know sandy soil. Now, what is its
So that
response
means
to
you
the
see sandy
water?
soil.
They
Then
absorb water quickly.
they absorb water. There are some places that this soil they are not retaining water at all. They absorb this water, but due to the excess of water, rainfall, or this overflow of water, that means this is because due to the overflow of water, it will reach a certain limit where they cannot absorb this. They cannot absorb this water. Do you understand?
So the major problem of that sand is that the river is filled with
Yes.
sand and there's no political will to drain it.
Yes.
As such, when the water comes, it's not to the more slopey area in the region. And also the attitude of people, the farming, the nature of farming they are doing around that region. Those are the factors that are contributing to that flood disaster around the area.
So it is.
Well,
It will.
I think
Yes.
I'm from Jigawa too, and I think there are so many human activities that are blocking the channel, river channel. So once the water comes, it will just overflow, and then it will cover everywhere and uproot everything. So I think this is another challenge. Not only because I know in Jigawa we have different type of soils. I think there are some places that have sandy soil and also some places normal
That
clay
have
soil.
loamy soil. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
clay soil.
clay soil. Yes. So
Yes.
sometimes the clay soil will not absorb the water, and also as usual in some part of Jigawa you see anywhere that's the sandy soil, it will absorb the water, and they don't used to experience this type of flooding. But mostly those people with clay soil, for example, Hadija, Auyo, and nearing local government, so they used to face these problems.
Yes, Joseph want to say add on to this, then I will say.
Yeah, about 3 years ago in Sierra Leone, we experienced a huge flood, but basically that was as a result of a heavy downpour of rain at one time, which is linked with climate change towards the point. Because as we say, some we are talking about the sandy soil, because from my understanding, the sandy soil should encourage more infiltration into the channels also. But towards the clay soil, which was experienced in Sierra Leone here, the the range, which is it's much of clay soil and some laterite. That's how the hill was fixed about. So like when there was the heavy downpour of rain, due to the force, it just break off through, isolate, sorry, block off the flow of water. So that um, rising level lead to much destruction on all neighboring communities around. It actually led to about 700 people injured and most dead at that point. So that's the thing.
The thing is that, what would I suggest? First of all, coming to the point of sandy soil and clay soil. Sandy soil, we all know, is a good because of its porosity. It's a very the infiltration rate of sandy soil is maximum than in case of clay soil. Okay, but there are two properties. One is absorbing, another is giving out. The giving out property of sandy soil is very poor. As a result of this, whatever it is absorbing, it is not giving out, and it is clogging inside. And clogging inside, it will come out. Once it will come out, when it is coming out, it is destroying a landform, and uh, through a vacuum, it is coming out. But this is not the case with uh, clay soils, because clay soil are very good, they have good permeability, so whatever it is absorbing, it can uh, pass through in a moderate rate. Second point is that construction of adequate structures is required, which will be responsive to this, to the type of soil the particular area is having, and it has the capacity to resist the percolation of the water, and uh, proper drainage system should be designed, so that whatever wherever there is sinking down is going on in case of sandy soil, uh, the uh, the percolating water may be trapped and drained out through proper channels. So these are structural measures are to be adopted in this place. And to my belief, in Nigeria, both these things are lacking. Now you say, whether you are agreed with me, or what is the situation? Come up, please. You didn't get me?
Maybe network problem.
Okay.
But I can hear you loud and clear, doctor.
Yes, Adamu say.
I said I can hear you and I can also see you.
Hey, do you agree with with the logic I said behind this?
Yes, ma.
I didn't get any others answer.
Yes, ma.
Yes, we agree.
You just think of this twice and thrice, and next in the next class we can come again with this same question. Okay. Because I think you are not clarified with whatever I have detailed you. First, you go through the characteristic features of sandy soil and clay soil. What
Okay.
is their response to the water? How they're absorbing water, uh, and how they are giving out the water as well. Mane, percolation, permeability, these are the terminologies which I am sharing with you. Just write down, and you just go through it. Unless and until this is total physics. Unless and until you go through this, you won't be understanding what I want to explain.
Okay, ma.
Okay. So, thank you for today. We'll be
Thank
meeting
you.
on 25th. Good day to
Okay.
all of you.
Okay, thank you, ma. Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
thank
Thank you
you
very
Thank
so
you,
much.
ma.
much.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Regard to family.